One of the most impressive aspects of the Soulsborne franchise is the lore and the world building that have been implemented across the entirety of the franchise, with each game containing deep backstories and fascinating characters.
Together we will devour the very core.
Despite all the games being great examples to the rest of the gaming industry in this aspect, some of the Soulsborne games contain more in-depth lore than others, so today, let's rank the Soulsborne games based on their lore. Number 7, Dark Souls 2. The most divisive entry in the series, Dark Souls 2 is either loved or hated, and in terms of lore, that case stands strong. The first attempt at returning to the world of Dark Souls was not what fans had hoped for. Not to say that the game is bad, or even that the lore and world building are complete nonsense, but for the high quality expected by fans, it is a noticeable step down. Perhaps the most interesting lore in the game, though, is the twisting story of King Vendrick and how the expectations of a great battle are stopped short when he is found in a hollow state. Number 6, Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 may be only one place up, but there are significant differences in the level of lore quality behind the two entries in the Dark Souls franchise. There are fascinating areas and a lot better interconnection between the various places that the Ashen One visits. At times, though, Dark Souls 3 feels so reliant on the first game that it loses its own lore identity. However, Dark Souls 3 did do a good job of producing great stories in its own right, such as the Curse-Rotted Greatwood and the Pontiff, who are some of the most fascinatingly evil and ambitious villains in the franchise. Number 5, Demon's Souls. The biggest weakness looking back at the original game in the Soulsborne style is that the games that have followed it have set the bar higher and higher. Nevertheless, the lore from Demon's Souls was great, even if the world it was set in seems simple in story terms compared to the games that followed after it. Demon's Souls lore highlights include the Old One and the story behind how he came into existence, and the history behind the first Scourge and how that led King Allant to the dark form of the Soul Arts. Number 4, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. There are several things that set Sekiro apart from the other games in the Soulsborne series. The Eastern mythological aspects make for many stylistic and lore differences from the other games. While the lore presented in Sekiro is bold and fun with some wonderfully deep aspects to it, the innovation feels less so only because it is set in a much more linear world. Nevertheless, lore like that behind the sculptor and his journey to becoming Demon of Hatred, or the Great Shinobi Owl, made for such intriguing backstory and lore that Sekiro manages to remain a beloved entry for lore even when weighed against other Soulsborne games.
As such, you must be destroyed.
Number 3, Dark Souls. There is something about the themes used to construct the original world of Dark Souls which are hard to match. Game creator Hidetaka Miyazaki has spoken about the themes of mighty beings brought low, which make up much of the grand and tragic world of this game, which still confuses some fans to this day. Stories told in the original Dark Souls games, such as Lord Gwyn beginning the Age of Fire after his battles with the Everlasting Dragons, are incredible tales and make this entry a must-play based on its lore alone. Number 2, Elden Ring. The most recent entry in the Soulsborne series is a phenomenal standalone story set in the style of the previous games. While Elden Ring has garnered much love and a massive fan base due to the combat and graphics, the lore and story behind it are perhaps the greatest strengths it has going for it. The world of Elden Ring is open yet mysterious, containing legacy dungeons, bosses with incredible lore behind them, such as Renala, Godfrey, and Malenia, and the secrets lying out in the open world waiting to be discovered. The lore runs so deep that it, at times, can feel endless. Number 1, Bloodborne. Bloodborne has incredible depth in terms of lore. While the city of Yharnam might not be the largest and the boss roster might not be the most complete, the story and the lore behind it are the most sprawling and intense of all the games. No game has so beautifully encompassed this sort of cosmic terror and built such a deep and lasting lore. Bloodborne is a perfect shining example of how deep video games can go and how far they can lead fans down the rabbit hole of lore.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
Well, that was our lore list for the games of the Soulsborne series, and looking back at each entry really goes to show how incredible the quality bar is set and helps to build anticipation for the upcoming Elden Ring DLC, The Shadow of the Erd Tree. But for now, that's all. Thanks for watching.